The plane that vanished, the woman I loved. Chapter 1. The missed flight. I still remember the scent of kerosene in the humid night air of Kuala Lumpur International Airport, the way the neon board flickered with flight numbers that meant nothing to me, except one, MH370. I was 28 then, young enough to think that time was endless, old enough to believe that love could anchor me in place. Her name was Anna, and she was everything soft that the world had left for me. We had been together for 3 years, half laughter and half silence, the kind of silence that feels safe rather than empty. And that night, in March 2014, she was boarding a plane bound for Beijing while I was sprinting through terminal gates, dragging a suitcase that rattled like my own pulse. I missed it. By minutes, no, by seconds. I can still hear the final call echoing through the speakers, distorted and cruel, announcing the gate was closed. I argued, pleaded, begged, but the attendants looked at me with that practiced mixture of pity and detachment. So, the aircraft doors are sealed. I stood at the glass, lungs burning, and watched the long body of the plane gliding toward the runway. Inside, somewhere behind those tiny rectangular windows, Anna was settling into her seat. She had texted me moments earlier, "Don't be late, I want you beside me." I had promised. And I had failed. I never saw her again. The hours that followed blurred. At first, it was only confusion. The screen showed the departure, the estimated arrival time, everything ordinary. I tried to call her once, twice, 10 times. Each ring stretched like a nerve pulled too tight. And then silence. By dawn, the news spread like oil on water. Flight MH370 was missing. Not delayed. Not diverted. Missing. A word so simple, so harmless in everyday life. I am missing my keys. I am missing my bus, but now it became monstrous. An absence that consumed everything. For the first 6 months, I lived in airports and motels, in newsrooms and internet forums. I spent what little savings I had, savings meant for a ring, for a shared apartment, for a future that had evaporated the moment the plane slipped from radar. I travelled to Beijing, to Perth, to every city where whispers of the wreckage surfaced. Satellite images, fishermen's tales, conspiracy theories, I devoured them all. I attended meetings with other families, sat in circles where grief had no language but was understood by all. Mothers clutching photographs, fathers clenching fists, children too young to realize their lives had been written in the sky. I searched because I could not believe in nothingness. Metal docent T vanish. People don T vanish. Love docent T vanish. There had to be a thread to follow, some hidden corner of the earth where a plane could land unnoticed. I walked beaches where debris was rumored to have washed ashore, scanning every shell, every shard of plastic, praying to find even the smallest piece that could whisper to me she was here. But the ocean mocked me with endless waves, indifferent and unbroken. By the end of that half year, I was hollow. My bank account was gone. My body was thin, sleepless, kept alive by caffeine and obsession. My friends had stopped calling, unsure whether I wanted comfort or solitude. My parents urged me to come home, to accept the unacceptable, but how could I? How could I sleep in a warm bed while she might be adrift in cold water, waiting? Yet the world is relentless in its demand for survival. Rent needed paying. Food needed buying. And so, with the last of my strength, I returned to Kuala Lumpur, to the apartment that still smelled faintly of her shampoo, her perfume lingering like a ghost that refused to leave. That was when the silence truly began. 6 months of fire burned down to ashes. I still scoured the news each morning, still read every rumor, but I stopped moving. I stopped searching in person. It wasn't that I gave up, it was that I had been broken into too many pieces to continue. I sat in the dark, replaying the night of the missed flight over and over, changing my role in the memory like an actor desperate for a different ending. In one version, I reach the gate on time, and we sit together, fingers entwined as the plane ascends. In another, I convince her to wait for a later flight. In another, I tell her not to go at all. Infinite branches of a tree that never grew, possibilities that will never exist. But reality was a single unbending line. She had boarded, I had not, and the sky had swallowed her whole. What haunted me most were her last words to me, sent just before takeoff. "Don't be late, I want you beside me." I read them until the letters blurred, until the phone screen seemed to brand the message into my skin. Beside her, that is where I should have been. If fate were just, if love had power, I would have been on that plane. And maybe, in some twisted way, I would have chosen it. Better to vanish with her than to remain alone in a world that no longer fit. The days turned into a ritual of survival. I worked meaningless jobs to pay the bills, avoided people who asked too many questions, drifted through streets where every face reminded me of her for a fleeting second. I found myself searching for her in crowds, certain I'd glimpse her hair, her smile, her walk. My rational mind told me it was impossible, but my heart refused logic. When someone disappears, they don't just vanish from your life, they multiply. You see them everywhere, in everyone, and the absence becomes unbearable because it is everywhere at once. Nights were worse. Nights brought dreams. Sometimes I dreamed of her calling my name from inside the fog, her voice clear but unreachable. Sometimes I dreamed of the ocean, black and endless, with the plane sinking slowly beneath the surface, windows glowing faintly like the eyes of drowning souls. And sometimes I dreamed of her beside me, laughing as though none of this had happened, and those mornings were the cruelest of all, because waking up was a second loss. Yet through it all, one truth pulsed beneath my grief: I had missed the flight. For reasons I could never untangle: traffic, hesitation, 100 small delays I had been spared. Fate had chosen to leave me behind. But was it mercy or punishment? Each day I asked myself, why me? Why was I still here, breathing, when she was not? I didn't know then that survival was not the end of tragedy, but only its beginning. 6 months had passed since flight MH370 disappeared, and I had found nothing. Every lead ended in frustration, every clue evaporated into silence. My savings were gone, my energy drained, and yet the memory of Anna's smile haunted every quiet moment. I tried to convince myself to stop, to let the grief settle, but it clung to me like smoke.
Daniel, you can keep doing this, my mother said one evening over the phone. You're wearing yourself out. Come home for a night, just rest.
I can Mom, I whispered, my throat tight. If I don't keep searching, I'll never forgive myself.
Daniel, you reobsessing. Marcus warned when he stopped by my apartment. Half a year is enough to understand there is nothing left to find. You need to sleep.
I shook my head. There is still something. I feel it. I know she is out there. Then it happened. The first message. A tape on the answering machine. Her voice. Daniel, the one let me. Static swallowed the rest. I pressed play again and again, each repetition more desperate than the last. It was proof. Anna was alive.
Are you hearing that? Marcus asked, leaning over my shoulder. It sounds distorted. You reimagining things.
No, Marcus, listen, that's her. She is calling me.
My mother called again that night, worried. Daniel, what if it is a mistake? You have to think of yourself too.
It is not a mistake, Mom, I insisted. I'll know where she is if I just keep trying. Weeks later, a second message arrived. This time, directly to my phone. A text: Daniel, I need you. Same seat, same sky. My blood ran cold. Same seat 14A. I remembered every detail. Same sky, what did she mean? I tried replying, but the number was untraceable.
Marcus frowned. This is insane. You rechasing ghosts, numbers that don't exist, voices in static.
Maybe, I said quietly. But if I ignore it, I'll lose her forever.
My mother cried when I told her I was leaving to follow the leads. Promise me you will, I'll be careful, she whispered.
I promise, I lied, already planning my next move. Boats, islands, old airstrips, whispered rumors anywhere she might be calling me. I traveled, documenting every anomaly. Lights over the ocean. Strange currents. Unexplained signals on radar. And at night, always the dreams. She appeared in shadows, speaking without words. I woke trembling, convinced she was near, suspended somewhere I could not reach.
Daniel, this obsession is killing you, Marcus said one night on the ferry to a remote island. I can't follow you any further if you keep pushing like this.
I don't care, I said, staring into the black waves. If she is alive, I will find her. If she is not, at least I tried. I hadn't slept properly in weeks, but tonight I was leaving the apartment. For the first time in 3 years, I felt a pull that was not just memory or obsession. It was tangible, like a current under my skin. My destination, a small abandoned airstrip on the coast of Malaysia, a place where locals claim to have seen strange lights along the flight path of MH370.
Marcus leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. You really doing this?
I have to. I can feel it there. If I don't go now, I'll never forgive myself.
He sighed, shaking his head. I am coming. I can stop you anyway, and at least I'll make sure you don't fall off a cliff or get eaten by something.
We drove through the night, the headlights cutting through dense coastal fog. The air smelled of salt and something metallic. I felt the hairs on my arms stand up. Arriving at the airstrip, we saw immediately a circle of scorched earth, faintly glowing as though it had absorbed the last rays of the sun. The ground hummed under my feet. Something had been here recently.
A voice behind me whispered, almost lost in the wind. You shouldn't be here.
I spun around. A woman emerged from the shadows, tall, with sharp eyes and a calm but dangerous presence.
Who are you? I asked, my heart pounding. Call me Lion, she said. I have been tracking these anomalies for years. You were not the first to come searching, but most on last.
Marcus muttered, great, another obsessed stranger with a mysterious name, perfect.
Lion, I pressed. Did you see her, Anna?
Her eyes darkened. Have you seen signals, flashes in the sky, strange electromagnetic disturbances, and people who vanish chasing them? You need to be careful.
We followed her deeper into the coastal woods. She led us to a clearing where a wreckage fragment lay half buried in sand. Metallic, scratched, but unmistakably from the missing plane. My hands trembled as I brushed the sand away. This was real. This was proof. My heart raced thinking of Anna.
Marcus leaned close. Are you sure this is real? It looks to you know, like scrap metal.
No, I said firmly. This is what I've been chasing. This is her trail.
Lion nodded. And that trail is dangerous. You are not the only one searching. There are forces that don't want this found.
Before I could ask, a noise erupted from the tree line, the crunch of boots on leaves. Shadows moved swiftly, and we realized we were being watched. Someone or something wanted the fragment, wanted to keep the truth buried.
Marcus whispered, "Time to run, man."
But I stayed rooted, staring at the fragment. No, we were not leaving, not now. The figures emerged. Dark suits, faces obscured, moving with precision. One of them raised a device that pulsed with blue light, and suddenly the air felt heavy, warped. I stumbled as if time itself resisted me. Lion grabbed my arm. "Move," she shouted.
We ran through the underbrush, branches tearing at our clothes. Behind us, the pulses from their device created distortions in the shadows. Time flickered a second, stretched, contracted, and the night sky seemed to bend around the fragment.
I realized with horror this wasn't just a physical threat. Whoever they were, whatever they controlled, the fragment was connected to something beyond normal understanding. Something that could trap us, warp us, maybe even erase us.
Marcus stumbled. "Daniel, we're not going to make it."
I grabbed his hand. "We will. Follow me. Trust me."
Lion led us through a hidden path, barely visible in the moonlight. "This way. They can follow us here."
Finally, we reached the edge of a cliff overlooking the ocean. Breathing heavily, I held the fragment, turning it in my hands. A faint resonance pulsed through it, almost like a heartbeat. I closed my eyes and whispered, "Anna, I am coming."
Marcus exhaled sharply. Whatever this is, whatever is out there, you're really in deep now.
I didn't answer. My gaze was fixed on the horizon, where the moonlight reflected off the restless ocean. Somewhere out there, Anna waited, and now, with this fragment, the first tangible piece of proof, the chase had become deadly serious. I knew we had crossed a threshold. Nothing would ever be the same again. After the encounter at the coastal airstrip, I couldn't sleep. Every night, the fragment seemed to pulse in rhythm with my heartbeat. I studied it, scanned it, tried to understand its resonance, and in the quiet hours, strange things began happening. Shadows moved against the light, clocks spun backward, and whispers echoed from nowhere. I felt time itself bending around me, subtle at first, then impossible to ignore.
Marcus leaned over the table, eyes wide. "Daniel, the clocks, the readings, they don't make sense. Are you feeling it too?"
I do, I admitted. And it is connected to this fragment. Whatever is holding Anna, it is not just physical, it is temporal.
Lion appeared in the doorway, calm but intense. You retouching something you can fully comprehend. The fragment is tied to the plane, it is strapped, and so is she. Every attempt to reach her distorts time around you.
That night, we returned to the coastal cliffs. The fragment hummed louder than ever, casting a faint blue glow. As I held it up, the horizon seemed to ripple, as if the sky itself was folding. Then the impossible happened. The ocean below repeated itself in waves, rising and falling in an uncanny rhythm, each cycle slightly different, yet familiar.
Marcus grabbed my arm. "Daniel, step back, look at the sky."
I turned and froze. Stars swirled, forming patterns I had never seen, constellations that shifted in real time. Time was not moving forward, it was looping, replaying fragments of the past, the exact moment the plane disappeared. And in those loops, I saw her, Anna, suspended mid-motion, invisible to anyone else, as though caught between seconds.
Lion spoke urgently. Yuri standing at the edge of the temporal echo. One wrong step and you will be trapped here, reliving moments forever. The fragment is the key, but you must follow the signals precisely.
I nodded, gripping the fragment tighter. "Show me." The fragment projected a faint light into the sky, forming a path over the ocean. The waves below seemed to respond, rising and falling with a rhythm I could sense in my bones. The patterns were subtle, a flashing buoy, a shifting cloud formation, but they guided me. Lion and Marcus followed, cautious, their faces pale in the blue glow.
"Daniel, this doesn't feel real," Marcus whispered. "It is like the world itself is watching."
I didn't answer. My focus was absolute. Every detail, every flicker of light, every echo of sound mattered. I had learned to trust the fragment, to let it guide me.
Hours passed, though time was meaningless. The sky leaped, the ocean pulsed, and shadows of the past replayed themselves. Faces of passengers appeared on the waves, frozen mid-gesture, including glimpses of Anna, always just out of reach.
Then it happened. I stepped forward into a shimmer of light projected from the fragment, and the world folded around me. 1 second I was on the cliff, the next I was inside the cabin of MH370 mid-flight. The hum of engines filled my ears, the scent of recycled air and leather seats pressed against my senses. Passengers froze in time, shadows of the past overlapping reality. And there she was, Anna, sitting by the window, looking out at a sky that should not exist.
Lioness' voice echoed beside me. Stay focused, Daniel. You can't interfere yet. The loop will reset if you do.
I reached out instinctively, but my hand passed through her arm. She looked at me, eyes wide, and whispered something I couldn't hear. Then, in an instant, I was back on the cliff, the fragment vibrating violently in my hands. The loop had reset, but the memory of seeing her alive burned in my mind.
Marcus coughed. That was impossible.
No, I said, voice firm. It is not impossible. She is there, somewhere, and I can reach her. We just have to follow the loop, understand its rhythm. Over the following days, we returned to the cliffs repeatedly, each night the fragment revealing new patterns in the sky and sea. Time became fluid. Sometimes we moved forward hours in a heartbeat, sometimes the world repeated entire sequences. Each loop revealed new clues, a shift in a Boyd's reflection, a shadow on the waves, the faint echo of Anna's voice.
One evening, as the fragment pulsed brightly, a new phenomenon appeared. Figures emerged from the loop to travellers caught in the same temporal distortion, shadows of people from other flights, their expressions frozen in fear and confusion.
I realized then that Flight MH370, Anna, and countless others were trapped in a temporal echo, replaying moments endlessly. And now, with the fragment, I could navigate that echo, perhaps even reach her.
Marcus swallowed hard. Daniel, this is bigger than any of us imagined. If we make a mistake, we could get stuck too.
I know, I said, gripping the fragment. But I will not stop. She's there, and I will find her, even if it takes spending time itself. Weeks had passed navigating the loops, following the fragment as pulsing light across the cliff, the ocean, and the ever-shifting sky. Every night the loops became more intricate, more unpredictable. The air hummed with energy, the winds carried whispers of voices trapped in time, and shadows of passengers flickered like ghosts between seconds. And yet, one truth remained. Anna was out there, suspended somewhere between moments.
Lion stood beside me, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Tonight, it will be different. The loop has aligned with the fragment's resonance. If you act quickly, you can reach her, but the window is brief.
I tightened my grip on the fragment, feeling its faint heartbeat. I understand. At 1 T waste a second.
Marcus adjusted the radio, his hand shaking. Daniel, this is it. Once you step through, there is no turning back.
I nodded. I know, I have to try. The fragment projected a column of light into the sky, brighter than ever before. The ocean beneath rippled in perfect cadence, the waves stretching and folding into themselves, mirroring the loop of the plane. The air smelled of ozone and salt, thick and electric. I stepped forward, feeling gravity warp and the world bend around me, until I was no longer on the cliff but inside the cabin of MH370.
Time moved differently here. Seconds stretched, then collapsed. The passengers were frozen in mid-motion, eyes wide, hands gripping armrests. And then there she was, Anna, looking out the window, hair brushing her, facing the impossible stillness of the moment. Her eyes met mine, and for an instant the loops and distortions faded.
I reached for her, careful, every fibre of my being trembling. Anna, that's me. I found you.
Her lips moved, but no sound came. Instead, she gestured toward the fragment, as if the key to freeing her was in my hands.
I raised the fragment, letting its light wash over the cabin. The passengers flickered, shadows of moments aligning. The hum of energy grew deafening, then focused into a single pulse.
Marcus's voice echoed in my ear. Daniel, it is working. Hold it steady.
I did. The pulse expanded, merging the loops of time, folding the past into the present. Anna's form shimmered, becoming solid, tangible. I reached for her, and she took my hand. Her skin was warm, alive, and real. Tears streamed down my face as relief and disbelief collided.
But the moment was fragile. A flicker of shadows emerged from the loop remnants of the forces that had trapped the plane. They lunged, dark and formless, trying to pull her back into the echo.
No, I shouted, stepping between them and her. The fragment's light fled, creating a shield of temporal energy. The shadows hissed and dissipated, retreating into nothingness. For the first time, the loops were still. Time resumed its natural flow. We were back on the cliff, fragment in hand, Anna beside me, the ocean calm beneath the sky that no longer twisted. I held her close, feeling her pulse, her breath, her warmth. 3 years of obsession, of chasing echoes, of sleepless nights and unanswered prayers, culminated in this impossible reunion.
She looked at me, eyes glistening. Daniel, you found me. Somehow you found me.
I told you, I said, voice shaking. I will always find you, no matter the distance, no matter the time.
Marcus smiled weakly. Well, I guess that's one hell of a story to tell.
We sat on the cliff as dawn broke, the fragment inert now, its job done. The world felt ordinary again, yet nothing could erase what had happened. Anna squeezed my hand, and I knew that while the leaves were gone, the memory of those impossible nights would remain forever etched in our minds.
What now? She asked softly.
No? I said, breathing in the salt air. Now we live together, and maybe we forgive the universe for keeping us apart so long. The end.